Welcome to Accounting High.
Most of us hear 15-hour week and they think part-time and I'm going to pull in 25K. We find over here in the accounting space that you can work 15 hours a week and pull in multiple six figures. Getting your head around the belief that that is possible is like the Roger Bannister 4-minute mile. Nobody knew that it was possible until he ran it, and then once he ran it, a bunch of other people also ran a sub 4-minute mile. The secret sauce is belief. The secret sauce is not tactics. If you do not believe that it's possible, you will not attempt to make it possible. And therefore, you will prove yourself true, and the brain always wants to be right.
So it's something a little more than hope.
Yeah, it's a lot more than hope. Hope is not an effective strategy.
Welcome back to our class. It's the guide. Please take a seat. Step into this unique guidance session. Navigate with me. It's the capital S. Oh yes, I'm fresh. C-double-O-T. Y apostrophe O-K-R apostrophe. You see? Yeah. Janitor Scott coming to you live from the closet with a bucket and a mop. So find a cozy spot. We all want financial freedom. ACCOUNTINGHIGH. Preach. Putting this course together. Sit back, relax, open your mind. Classes in session. Guidance class at Accounting High.
Introducing the star of our show.
Scotty and Geraldine.
We're gonna have a problem here.
Class is in session, students. You're in for a treat. I'm in the guidance counselor's office, and Geraldine Carter has come in with a book report for me today. So we're going to talk a little bit about a new book that was just released, just for accountants, just for CPAs, written by none other than the author herself is here with me too. Geraldine Carter. Can you tell us the title of your book? I know it's down to 40 or something like that, but why don't you give us the full title?
Sure, it's down to 40 hours. A roadmap for CPAs to permanently end overworking.
Permanently end overworking. It's something that I am accustomed to. I know very well what it's like to overwork myself to the point of burnout many times. I think a lot of our students kind of know that feeling too. But before we dive right into the book itself, Geraldine, this is your second time on the show. First episode was episode 131. Ackerman was with us. I think we were still Sons of CPAs. It might have been Accounting High.
Yeah, thank you for having me back.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to have you back. That was a great episode. We talked a lot about, what you're doing and kind of your journey to getting there. So if anybody wants to listen to more of that, episode 131, all these episodes are numbered now. Thanks to a suggestion you gave me a while back. Now I finally took some of that advice and put it into play.
Nice. Yeah. So I think we kind of wandered the world on that episode. So I think we're going to keep it
You've
a little
wandered
closer.
the world. Yes.
Yes.
You're a world traveler, but you're currently residing in Idaho. I want you to tell our students about the process of writing your first book too. This is your first book, and give us a little bit of rundown of what that was like.
Yeah. So it was a meandering process, especially at the outset, to try and figure out what the book was, what it was going to be about, and then how to write it. So even before I figured out that it was going to be down to 40 hours, I actually thought it was going to be about subscription because the conversation around subscription was all the rage at the time. And the farther I went along, the more I thought CPAs don't need a book about subscription right now. What they need a book about is how to stop working stupid hours. And what does that look like, and break it down for people and make it really simple so that they could see that they could actually work a 40-hour week without losing revenue. And here's how. So once I realized that down to 40 hours was going to be the topic, not subscription, then it got a lot easier. And one avenue that I thought about was, do I write the outline fresh and just start writing, or do I take all the content that I already have inside my mastermind? There's 16 weeks of video courses on all the stuff that I talk about already and teach, and have those transcribed, and then use the transcriptions and shape the transcriptions into the book topics and repurpose all the knowledge that I already have, leverage it rather than writing fresh. So that was like big problem number one, or like big question number one. And as an experiment, I decided to try the transcription route and had all of it transcribed, and then reshaped it or had an editor, a developmental editor, shape it, and did 2 back and forths with him in terms of edits, and then polished it And then all the end stuff happens super fast. Like it sounds obvious in retrospect, but the writing is the really hard part. And then once that's done, it all just comes together super fast. Cover, artwork, the layout, the interior, the Kindle version. And then all of a sudden you upload it to Amazon, you have a book for sale. So it goes from like 18 months of the writing process. And then all of a sudden, like 3 weeks, everything is done.
So I want to go back to how you picked out the content for the book. So this was the things that were most valuable to your customers, to your clients, the people that you've been working with. You took what was most valuable to them. Part of that whole process of creating the videos was just that. You were leaning into what problems can I solve and where can I be of assistance. You took all of that knowledge, and that's where you started. That was those were the transcripts that you took.
Yep.
Anybody can do that. People that work with clients in their business every day that have a lot of this stuff. I mean, you're basically creating a framework for a lot of people too by documenting the process. You went through the whole process. You even have it on a website. You know, everything that it took just to create this book, you're self-published.
Yep.
So you didn't need anybody else to go to. You did need editors and you did hire professionals to do all of that, to create that book, but you didn't need a whole publishing house or anything like. You didn't need to get a book deal.
No, that would have been in the way for me because I'm not a gigantic author who is well known and Riley wants to, or Penguin wants to, you know, sell 100,000 or 500 million of my books, right? So that would have been a massive undertaking and doesn't make sense for me because my audience is really specific. This is not a book that's going to be sold in the airports. This is a book that is going to be like wildfire in the underbrush that just spreads by word of mouth among a very specific population of people. So the self-publishing route made all the sense in the world. It's super easy. And when I started, there was no ChatGPT and maybe there was Grammarly, but now you have these tools. You know, it's only been 18 months. Now you have these tools that are people are getting much more comfortable with. And those where if I were starting now, I would probably leverage the AI language tools to do what a human did just 18 months ago.
Right. And you probably have a lot more control over the process too.
Yeah.
Because you're in control of all the inputs.
And the timing. I mean, the timing of working with an editor.
The turnaround time for GPT versus a person.
Oh my God. Night and day. Right. I mean, that was a huge holdup in the process. And some of the holdup was on my end, right? Because understandably, I would get, I have a business to run and a family and all the rest. And so, of course, I got pulled here and there. And there were times where I had windows of time where I was able to buckle down and focus. And I remember a Memorial Day weekend, I said to my husband, I was like, you've got the kids all weekend to go camping. Let's pray it doesn't rain. I'm going to buckle down. I'm just going to plow through my book and get it back to the editor. And then I send it back to the editor and I don't hear back for like 3 months. Right. But meanwhile, it sat on my desk also for 3 months. Right. And then he gets it back to me.
Though. It may be out of your desk.
Yeah, for sure.
Not out
but
of
then,
your head.
And then I get it back from the editor and then it sits on my desk for 4 months until I find another window where I have like multiple weeks at a time where I have the headspace to just be able to focus. So I think in terms of, I don't mean to lay blame at anybody's feet. It goes in both directions. But I think having all the language tools now just potentially makes a massive difference in terms of simplifying things and just making it work within your timeline in a way that wasn't available just a couple years ago.
Well, us accountants, we know we've always had spreadsheets, we've always had Excel, we've had calculators to assist everything we're doing. Now writers have calculators.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, I can't even tell you, I just use Grammarly and other places in my business. I can't even tell you how much time it saves me. And I write, so my sentences are so much clearer. Like they make so much more sense once I use it. It's the power behind these tools is just incredible. So especially for CPAs, and I'm an engineer by training, right? So I don't think of myself as a writer. I think of myself as a person who loves to make spreadsheets for absolutely everything, no matter what the problem. And to be able to use, for us numbers people, formula people, to be able to have these tools at our disposal is, like you say, it's like giving a calculator to a writer. Finally, they don't have to do the math. For us, it's like we get that version of a calculator, and it just takes that fear of I could never write a book. Well, you can now, because the language models are doing. I mean, they're not doing the creative thinking for you, but they just do so much of that, like organize your thinking for you.
But it's also, they're not doing the content necessarily, because everybody has their own unique set of what they can teach and what they can provide, that value they can provide for that client. So for all the listeners that own their firm, the problems that they're solving and the stuff that they're doing, that is something that you can bottle up and turn into, I've written a book now of my knowledge.
Yeah.
And that's what we're talking about today. One thing that I wanted to kind of talk about too is how your philosophy and your style on your show, in the book, and the stuff that you consistently talk about, it reflects how you live your life too. So, you know, you don't have a whole large team. You're working at your pace and you're comfortable. You have the freedom and the flexibility to spend a ton of time with your kids and do the things that you want to do, spend time on the slopes. You like to ski. And so you're not burning yourself out while you're talking about these things too. So as we get into these details about you talk about in your book, it's just a reflection of what you can teach because it's what you know. And that's why it was so easy for you to write this. Well, not easy for you to write this book. We know it's hard, but the knowledge and the content, I mean, that's usually where people get hung up.
Yeah. And for me, because I'm not a CPA and I'm not my client, the solution for them to get down from a 60-hour week down to a 40-hour week down to a 25-hour week is a different solution than it is for me. But because my business model is different. But a lot of the thinking, a lot of the business strategy applies just the same, right? The principles of knowing your marketplace, pricing appropriately, delivering efficiently, and so on. Those things doesn't matter who your target market is, it doesn't matter what your business model is, those things need to be done regardless. Mm-hmm. So even though what I teach for my clients, my CPAs, has a different take on it, a different twist than it does for my own business, I still very much like to model for my clients the journey of going from being somebody who works a ton, loves working, finds work to be fulfilling, stimulating, interesting, but has a tendency sometimes to let it go a little bit too far and to let things, even though we don't want them to, get a bit out of balance. And how do you come back from that? And then once you come back from it and get to what's in air quotes a normal, which I don't think it's normal at all, it's just common, but I think frankly it sucks to work 40 hours a week. I think it's a shame that in America we work 40 hours a week. It's like, why?
Well, that's our standard. That's our
yeah, totally.
Like bar to set.
Yeah.
That's what everybody assumes you're supposed to do that.
Yeah. And so to go against that grain and to say, I'm not even going to work 40 hours a week, I'm going to go, so my clients can get down to a 40-hour week and they're like, okay, like that feels so much better. And that feels normal and safe. And then when they hit 40 hours and they want to go down to 25, that's when the mindset stuff starts coming in, because it's so countercultural to work a 25-hour week. And all the stuff that you face, like, is my success a fluke? Is the other shoe going to drop? When is a client going to call with a fire? And so we deal with all the mindset stuff when we go down to 25 hours. And then now I'm down at 10 hours. And so I've had to experience and go through all of those same things so that I know what it's like for them, what they're going through when they go from 40 down to 25 and down to 15 and so on.
Mm-hmm. You can be very empathetic in your behavior modeling too.
Yeah.
For your clients. And tell me about the journey then that you took. Like I assume that you did work 40 plus hours a week. Mm-hmm. At what point did you say this was enough?
At the moment, I didn't need more money. Right? So for me, I was setting up my business, and setting up a business, standing it up, putting the sticks in the air takes some effort, and getting the flywheel going and getting your name out there and figuring out how to deliver your services and who responds to what and so on. And as soon as I had sufficient, I would work as much as I needed, as much as I had time for, and I had 2 little kids, and then it was COVID. So I would work as much as I had time to build my business. But the moment I had sufficient revenue and the family revenue, whatever, was taken care of, I was like, okay, now how do we change gears and focus on the hours while maintaining the revenue exactly where it is? And when you get to the place where you have sufficient revenue and you're no longer in a sort of like, all right, do I have everything covered for the month or whatever? Suddenly you have more freedom to think about the things that are going to make your business more efficient, more effective, more powerful, because you no longer have the concern of like, how's the money and the math working? And that level of freedom helps you think at so much of a higher level in terms of solving business problems. You solve bigger problems, you solve them better, you solve them with more permanent solutions instead of like, let me just fix this right now, or let me fix this for this week. It's like, let me fix this permanently so that I never have to receive another email like this question from a client, right? Like just today I was talking to a client who was like, he's getting sucked into his inbox, which I think is a really common symptom. And we just did a quick screen share of his inbox, and there were multiple problems in there. And one of the problems in there is like, hey, the bank is asking for 2021 and 2022 financial info. Can you help me get that? Right. And I was like, okay, why are you receiving this email? Right? What upstream system needs to change so that you never receive an email again from a client asking this question? Right? What is the permanent solution to this kind of question? Instead of the temporary solution is here, let me get you your financial information and sending it off. So the more time you have in your head, because you're not worrying about revenue and all kinds of other things, the better able you are to find permanent solutions. And that practice compounds in terms of time savings and revenue in your business.
But it all starts with the realization of enough is enough, too. I had that realization at my practice. I was overworking myself beyond burden. And at a certain point, I'm pretty sure I hit more than enough, but I still had to learn. I still had to learn the hard way of what this meant. And I could have kept pushing myself. I could have kept doing it and doing all those things to myself. And that's what keeps you at the office till 2 a.m. some nights, is because you're answering everything and then still trying to do the thing you set out to do in the beginning of the day. And then it all just spirals out of control.
Yeah.
And it's always out of control until you can kind of get a hold of the situation. I couldn't get a hold of the situation until I got a hold of my own self, my own mindset. Once you took control of that, and I guess controlled your own need for more or desire or the ambition, then you were able to see a lot more clearly too within your business and start solving bigger problems too for clients. It sounds like, you've kind of evolved your offering and what you've done for your clients too. Now you're an author and now you're writing books. At the beginning, did you ever see enough time to even finish writing a book?
Well, at the beginning, no. I mean, at the beginning or in the middle when I start, the nugget for writing the book, the goal was back in 2021. And that was like the heart of COVID. And I was like, there's just no way I can't embark on this project right now. I don't have the bandwidth. And knowing that and recognizing that and saying, this just needs to go on the back burner. I only have 4 burners on my stove. 2 of them are occupied with my kids. 1 of them's occupied by my business. And just saying, back burner this, right? So, and I'm a go-getter by nature, and learning to dial that back, I think has been one of my life's bigger challenges. But if you don't learn how to dial it back, you end up burning yourself out. You can only do so much and help so many people in a given lifetime. And that's hard to accept when you want to save the world, right? So for people who, like you say, you have to get a hold of your situation, you've got to get a hold of your mindset and ask yourself, okay, how much is enough actually? How much is a little bit more than enough? How much is sufficient? How much is ample? And how much is abundance? And recognizing where you are in that state, on that spectrum, and saying, okay, like actually what I have right now is ample. What can I let go of? And what I found and what I find among my clients who go down this path is at the beginning, it's hard to believe that working a 25 or a 15-hour week is even possible for like the revenue that we're looking for. Because most of us hear 15-hour week and they think part-time and I'm going to pull in 25K, right? But what we find over here in the accounting space is that you can work 15 hours a week and pull in multiple 6 figures. And getting your head around the belief that that is possible is like the Roger Bannister 4-minute mile. Nobody knew that it was possible until he ran it. And then once he ran it, a bunch of other people also ran a sub 4-minute mile. So it's recognizing, oh, somebody else who looks just like me can do it. Maybe I can do it. And The secret sauce is belief. The secret sauce is not tactics. If you do not believe that it's possible, you will not attempt to make it possible. And therefore, you will prove yourself true. And the brain always wants to be right. So we need to adjust the belief that it's possible so that we then figure out how to make it possible and implement all the steps.
So it's something a little more than hope.
Yeah, it's a lot more than hope. Hope is not an effective strategy.
Hope is not a good strategy.
No, anytime my clients are like, oh, well, I just hope that tax season's going to go well, I'm like, stop the bus. We don't hope that tax season's going to go well. If you hope that tax season is going to go well, the thing that you're going to do is sit around in fantasy land, think rainbow and bunny thoughts, and not do anything tactical to plan out your tax season. We get real about the numbers, and we believe that tax season is going to go smoothly, but we do all the planning and the tactics in order to make tax season go smoothly. But it begins with belief, not hope.
And that there's mindset too. And so it sounds like the first step beyond anything else to get those hours down is belief and mindset.
It's 100%. I mean, belief is the secret sauce. If you don't believe, you will not take the actions that are required in order to make it possible. And we all but we all have confirmation bias. Our brains want to be right. They are designed to be right. They are designed to seek evidence to support what we currently think. So we need to recognize what we are thinking and pull that stuff out of the subconscious mind and pull it into the conscious mind, look at it, write it down on paper so you can actually see what you are thinking. And then ask yourself, ooh, is that accurate? Ooh, is that a thought that I like? Is that a thought that I want to have? If I believe this thought, how does it play out in my day-to-day life or in my business? What do I like about this thought? What don't I like about this thought? A lot of us as numbers people and accountants who have a preference for accuracy tend to, of course, why would you think that any of your thoughts are inaccurate, right? I thought a thought. Well, I'm an accountant. Why would I think an inaccurate thought? But we have 60,000 thoughts a day, and most of them are junk. So we need to surface them, see what on earth we're thinking, and ask ourselves if we like it, and where does that thought lead me if I follow the thought train and the action train? What result does it get to? So for example, clients come into my program down to 40 hours, and they're like, I hate sales, I suck at marketing, my prices are too low, no one will pay this for that, and clients are a pain in the rear end, right? A subset of thoughts. And I think, I say, all right, let's look at those thoughts. Where do they lead you? Right. And then they get down to 40 hours and they're like, oh, I could really improve. I could stand to improve my marketing. And actually, I like sales conversations because I know I'm helping clients. And my best clients are a real joy to work with. And I just got rid of my clients who are a pain in the butt. And then I fixed my system so that my clients are no longer a pain in the butt. And you can watch their thoughts actually change. And then when they go down to 25 hours, what they think is, I love my business. I'm so lucky to have what I have, right? It's a very different it's a different state of mind.
It's a gratitude and appreciation for everything you have.
Totally.
As you get further down and lower.
It's not as it happens that the mindset changes. We change the mindset so that the business follows suit.
Mm-hmm. It has to happen first.
It has to happen first.
You have to have that belief first before
Bingo.
Any of this stuff happens. It wasn't a hindsight thing.
Exactly. Despite having zero evidence, you have to have belief when you have zero evidence. And that's a hard thing, especially for numbers people to have, and especially for accountants who are always looking in the rearview mirror going, well, look at what I have evidence for. And they've amassed a pile of evidence for all these crappy things that they don't like, and they believe that reality and that's how it's going to be. So it's hard for them just based on their nature. And this is a thought I'm about to say. It's hard for them, but you could see how for an accountant who is a data loving person who enjoys accuracy, that to lean into a belief with a donut hole of evidence is a leap of faith for them. But you need to take that leap of faith and start retraining your mind so that your actions follow suit.
So here's how I see most people achieve that is by looking outside of our profession.
Yeah.
And I had to do that because if I looked within, and I looked to other accountants, typically what I saw was that's not possible. That was the resounding answer, that you are going to be doing this till you are deathbed.
Yeah,
There's
you are
no
going
other
to
way.
die if you do that.
My grandfather did it. My dad got out of it. So either people get out of it or they stay in it. And there is another way. I've seen other businesses succeed. Why is it that we're the only ones that are stuck at our desk always. And that is because we are solving the problems for the most part for our clients. Our clients are paying us for our value, our knowledge. And then firms get stuck in this place where they want to grow and scale beyond them, but they're still doing all the work. There's a lot of different paths you can go on, but you have to take where you're at and figure out what the change is. So it is possible. We're seeing people that are doing the same thing I'm doing. It's not foreign now.
And it's always been possible. Structurally, there have been a couple of problems that I think are important to surface. And I touch on this a lot in the book. In fact, the whole first chapter is devoted to value. And a huge part of the problem in the accounting space is a fundamental lack of understanding of value, and that clients are paying for value, not for work performed over time. And the work performed over time model is a trap because your prices will be suppressed. You're always paid to be doing work. And if your revenue model is pinned to you working and you want to make more money, then the only way to make more money is to work more. It's total lunacy. So, I mean, unless you want to work all the time, then by all means, price by the hour and you guarantee you will work all the time. Have at it. The accounting industry still has not caught up in a meaningful way to this idea that revenue comes from the creation of value for clients, and that is what they are paying for you. They're not paying for your work. They're not paying for your time. They're not paying for deliverables, reports, P&L, balance sheet, month-end close, revenue recognition, none of it. It is all a transformation for them, and it's all in the value to them. And it takes time to get your head around this concept. But once you do, suddenly business gets so much easier because you focus on understanding what the client values, and now you have a lot more ways at your disposal to create value for clients that aren't necessarily requiring you to work long hours. And that is one reliable path out. Another reliable path out is to go the structural way, hire a bunch of bodies to do the work, management level,
It's
and then
systems.
you rise up and out. And
The other way is systems.
And
So you
systems.
have
I mean, systems I think
value
are
versus
required.
systems. I just released an episode and we kind of synthesized all of this in the, it was the timesheet debate. So it's Ed Mendlowitz with systems versus Ron Baker with value. And I don't know if they coexist or not in one system, because like you said, you can either create the value and you create this boutique firm that can have maybe up to 12 clients, and you could be doing over $1 million and do doing very well for yourself and do a lot for your handful of clients, 6 to 12 clients, and you do very well. That's a system built on value. And then you have a system built on systems and built on processes and built on people fulfilling the work. And that's what I've created. That was the long and short of it on that episode, because my team we started tracking, and they started billing certain things on certain time values. So I've created a system that also I think has a cap on it too. It does work without me. It doesn't require me, but it does require bodies in seats and people doing the work for all of it to get done.
So I would argue that there's a third option in there, because it's not value or systems, because you can have systems inside value. And I would argue that it's a great idea to have systems to support your business, even when the value is high and the number of clients is low. So I have a low volume business at any given time, not more than 20 clients, closer to 15. And I have systems that run my business so that I only have to work in any given week. I only am basically required to show up, in air quotes, for 5 hours a week, which is what I did when I was in France for a month last fall. I pre-scheduled a whole ton of work in the fall, and then I was like, great. Went to Paris with my mom, my daughter, and spent a month, and all I had to do was make sure that my clients were taken care of, and it took about 5 hours a week. So I have a high-value situation with systems that run in the background to make sure that everything is dialed in. So on the far end of the spectrum is value without systems for boutique clients. And I would say if you wanted to get wiser about that, make those 12 clients as much like each other as possible so that each one isn't custom and you can systematize them, and then you're even better off.
So there is, and I know that there's never a duality. I like to do that in my head too. It's always like this one versus that, the debate.
Yeah, it's value versus no value, and it's system versus no system.
Yes. And I think, too, is your pricing system. You can have systems that run your entire practice, but your system on pricing, important to really hone in on that first before you focus on anything else. I think that's what most people talk about is your pricing and how you determine that. That's why your first chapter is value.
Yeah. So the first chapter is value, and then it's niching, right? You've got to figure out who you're selling to. If you're selling to everybody, you're just going to make a junk show of your business. And then there's a page in the book that I just like, I put lights all around the entire page, and there's only like 20 words on the page. And it's basically like, look, the solution to overworking is not hiring. Many accountants will think I'm working 60 hours a week, I should hire. And hiring will not solve your overworking problem. If the cause of your overworking problem is suppressed prices, being a generalist, and having clunky systems. Because if you have suppressed pricing, clients who are all over the map, and clunky systems, you are going to add a body at $60,000 or $120,000 onto that situation, and hiring is going to exacerbate your overworking because your new hire can't get trained up because your systems are clunky. They can't be efficient because your clients are all over the map, and you're barely paying for your hire because your prices are suppressed, and it's just going to make everything worse. So if you're overworking, the solution is to fix your pricing, is to get specific about who you serve, and dial in your systems. That will fix overworking. And then once you've optimized those three things, now if you want to add more clients, to grow your client roster and grow your accounting practice, now consider hiring. But don't hire as a way to mop up a mess that you've made. $60,000 or $120K for a hire is a really expensive mop. So fix your problems first and then hire.
That's important. I heard you mention growth in there too, because if you do have things under control and you create the life for yourself, things can still grow. You can still see growth in other areas. How do you define growth, Geraldine?
I think each of my clients defines what they want to grow, right? Like growth is just bigger or more. It's not necessarily better, but what is it that you want to grow? Oftentimes the default thinking is I want to grow revenue and I want to grow staff count. But my clients are like, usually I want to grow my free time. I want to grow the number of stamps in my passport. I want to grow the sense of calm that I have in my business. I want to grow the amount of enjoyment that I have for my business and my clients, right?
But that's not the things everybody talks about.
I
Doesn't
know.
everybody talk about how much they've grown in the past year? We grew 20%, or we did this, and we...
Who, like, if that's what you want, great. I don't have any judgment about what to grow.
If that's what you want.
So I help my people get what they want, which is so often not more revenue. Sure, more revenue would be nice.
Though.
What's that?
It's what we think we want in the beginning. That's what I thought I wanted.
And in the beginning, you're growing your business. If you're starting at zero, you want more revenue.
Yeah, true. You do need it.
But
well,
often,
you said this in the beginning. It's about the money till it's not.
It's about the money until it's not. Exactly. But so often we speed past, we're going like 55 miles an hour just trying to get somewhere where there's enough money. And we're going 55 miles an hour and we miss the turnoff, right? We're like, oh, that was my exit back there. I was going too fast to notice it. I've just been on autopilot grinding it out. And turns out there was this exit that was like, okay, you have enough now. Like you need to get some gas and some food. The tendency is to speed past the exit and be 20 miles past it before you're like, oh, right. But then that's okay. It's like no big deal. We just undo a little too many clients, probably 40 or 20% too many clients. We can undo that in a way that is considerate so that the CPA can get their time back, get their life back, feel a sense of calm. I mean, a lot of my clients come in and they are just stressed to the max, coupled with, I don't know how to get out of this. And I think that exacerbates it. It's not so much the stress, it's the stress with, I don't know how to make the stress stop. That is scary. And being able to ratchet that down so that they can go to work in any given week and be like, oh, I have this amount of work that I need to do this week, and I have more than enough time to get that done. Everything's going to be fine. That is a sense of calm that they haven't had in years, if not decades. So that's what we're trying to grow, not because I think it's better, but it's because that's what they tell me they want.
Yeah. Well, when I say you, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the listener.
You, the royal you.
The royal you, yeah. But that's what it's about, though, is to understand and figure out what you want.
And not get pulled by the sirens of the chattering boxes
Yeah.
on social media.
Yeah, because that sometimes is how we define what we want. And sometimes we don't even realize that we're following somebody else's drum and or the Pied Piper or whatever it might be.
Mm-hmm.
And we're following along and realize, oh, wow, I've amassed all of this wealth, all of these things that, that I maybe resent myself for in the end too. And that's not me in general. It's the royal, but you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And, to our credit, that is a steady drumbeat. I remember that drumbeat in high school. I remember that drumbeat in college, being told by professors, when you get hired by an engineering firm and you're making XK, whatever, and just being like, I mean, for me, I knew right away that's I didn't want to go in a skyscraper. They're not for me. But I remember hearing that and being like, ooh, I don't know if I like that message. And I'm really sad that everybody else in this auditorium is hearing that message. At any rate, the other piece in there is that sometimes we're chasing success as a way to feel better about ourselves. And we think that if my business is successful, then that will mean that I'm okay. And we pursue business success as a way to feel okay or better about ourselves. And when our business fails, we suffer because we think that means we're a screw up and have moral character flaws. And the tendency can be to chase success to success, first million, second million, 5 million, 10 million. And it keeps never filling that hole. And we keep chasing it until we realize that doesn't fill this hole. And then once we realize that doesn't fill this hole, it's super painful, but it's also super freeing because you can go, oh, this hole was always full. I never needed to chase success to fill this hole. Now I can just do what I want with my business. And that realization really sets people free to create what they want instead of creating something they think they needed to create in order to prove that they were somehow a valuable contributing member to society.
It's feeling grateful too for that. And once you do start to see that and have that gratitude and embody that, then all of a sudden the hole starts to be a little bit smaller.
And when you step into that place of being grateful for everything that you have and being proud of everything you've created, no matter how much you've screwed it up along the way, be proud of all your failures, be proud of the perhaps terrible hires that you made, be proud of every step, every failure, every win that you've had to take along the way. Suddenly you have so much more to give. And it becomes less about you, not you, Scott, royal you, you filling your own bucket and you filling the buckets of others. And the more you fill the buckets of others, the more your own bucket somehow magically gets filled. But we don't get to experience that when we're preoccupied with whatever's missing from our own bucket.
So do you meditate or do you suggest your clients do that? That's one way to start understanding where those voices are and what you're really listening to. At least that was for me.
So now I write more just because I like to see what I'm thinking in both senses of the word.
Yeah.
I have meditated in the past. I find with little kids, here's my excuse. Little kids, I find it hard to find the time where they don't interrupt me for orange juice. But nonetheless, whatever the person's practice is of quiet time, and I say this to my clients, and I recently recorded a video for them about the common characteristics of success that I've seen across my clients who have gone either the farthest or gone the lightest or the fastest. One of the practices or habits that they develop over time is being fiercely protective of their quiet space, whatever that looks like for them, whether it's riding their horse or going for a walk in the forest or going out on their boat fishing or meditating or yoga or whatever their practice is. They have something that they go to and they're fierce about protecting it because they know that their business is better and they are better when they protect that time, rather than the tendency, and what a lot of accountants get sucked into, and it's supported by society, is to be busy all the time, being productive and doing production work and grinding it out. And getting sucked into that is really terrible for your business because you can't think as clearly. And when you're super busy, you can't get your head above water to solve problems. So, like I say, my clients, they come to find and appreciate that the value of protecting that quiet space for themselves and for their business.
How do you suggest somebody set up a practice like that? How much time should they allot? And is it something that you can set up like that? Is it something that you can say, I'm doing this on this day?
So this is like, you got to find the thing that works for you, right? In your life, whatever the situation of your life is, if you have little kids or grown kids or teenagers or aging parents, it's not for me to say what's going to work, but you already know the things that you enjoy, that you gravitate toward. Maybe it's playing music. If you put your guitar in the stand 10 years ago and you haven't picked it up since, maybe just pick it up and play it for half an hour a couple times a week. Just start with something and it will lead you to the things that you like. It doesn't really matter what the activity is. It's just that you find a way to make sure that time in your day or in your week is protected.
Protect your practice, whatever that is. It could be prayer. It could be meditation. It could be stretching. It could be yoga. It could be something as simple as going on a walk.
And the thing is that nobody will protect it for you.
No, everybody's going to take it away from you.
That they're all trying to take it away.
Everybody wants a piece of that.
Everyone wants a piece.
Protected hour.
Yep. So you got to be like a mama bear.
That and don't feel bad about that either.
No.
That's the thing is you're going to feel bad when somebody wants some of your time that actually gives you more value and makes you feel more valuable. And when somebody's asking for your for you, that makes you feel good. And you want to say yes to that, right?
Yes. And this is exactly one of the traps that people, one of the things that we find that they need to work through as they go from 40 hours down to 25 is because now they have free time. So somebody calls and says, hey, can you help me with X? And you're like, I have 15 hours free on my calendar. How do I say no?
Are you busy? Yeah, they'll ask that first. Are you busy?
Right. And you're like, and if the answer is no, they're going to be like, well, then I have something to make you busy. Right. So
usually you're so proud that you have all this free time that you want to tell everybody like,
right.
Oh, I got nothing on my calendar. Oh, great.
Do.
Let me steal that.
Right. I'd love some of that because I could sure use some help. Right. So these are the kinds of things that come up. We know they're going to come up. They're like a Swiss train right on time that people are going to ask for your time and what are you going to implement in terms of systems or habits in your business so that you protect your time. Because as the business owner, it is part of your business strategy is to protect your time. Plus it's yours. It's your business. You started it for the freedom and the autonomy and the discretionary time. So to just turn around and give it away is like, well, no.
Did you find...
You crossed the finish line. You got there. Like, don't give it away.
Yeah. Did you find when you were traveling outside of Switzerland that the trains were not on time?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, oh, yeah. I don't like to like bust on countries behind their backs.
Okay.
But the reason that I missed a train in Switzerland, which I was on the tracks for 3 minutes early and the doors were already locked, is because I came from Italy. The trains do not always run on time.
And the trains are all relaxed in Italy, I'm
They're
sure.
chill, man.
They chill. But Swiss they've got it dialed in.
Oh, my God. Yeah, like right on the nose. The second hand hit the zero and the train just peeled away while I was sitting out there with my face pressed against the glass.
You weren't half in, though. It was like they closed doors on you. They're not that militant. Well, this is fantastic. I think for our listeners, it always, a lot of this stuff, it comes at us from all different angles, and we hear all the things that we think we want, and we follow that, and we follow that beat of that drum, and it could have been our parents beating that drum our whole lives, and that's why we have that drum beat in our head. But then we realize we want something different, and that's hard to go against the values of your tribe too. So what are some other suggestions for people that are in a tribe of everybody that's cheering them on to overwork themselves? How do they understand that it's okay to be different too?
Yeah. Well, the thing is that you won't be different if you find the right tribe. So find the tribe that is saying the things that you're like, ooh, I like that message. And then hang out and steep yourself in the teabag of people and ideas that you're like, yeah, I like how these people think. So that you surround yourself with a totally different set of voices about what's okay, what's safe, what you can do and all the rest. And just like get out of the toxic tribes. If you need to break up with those tribes, just break up and get out and find the set of voices that you resonate with, because being able to surround yourself with other people who think similarly will buoy your own efforts.
Yeah, I think you need to start with a bridge to that next group too, because it's hard to just feel abandoned or feel like you're abandoning some people that you've associated with for a long time too. But that's perfectly normal, and it's perfectly understandable to start to evolve. And once you start finding that bridge and start finding those other people that probably match or mirror the mindset that you want, the new beliefs that you know are possible, those people that are living those beliefs, those are the ones that you want to surround yourself with, because then it's more confirmation, and it's a new confirmation bias.
Yeah, exactly. You want to be gathering the evidence that you see from the people who are doing what you want to be doing and who have the thing that you want, so that you can really cement that belief in your own self about it being possible.
And where do you suggest people go to start finding those people?
I think there are increasing number of groups out there for accountants now. I mean, Jason Statz's Realize group is awesome. There are wonderful people in there. Of course, I have a mastermind program where this is what we do. We're surrounded by people who are going down to 40 hours, down to 25, down to 15 hours. So that's always an option. Listen to my podcast, get on my email list.
Where do they find
Because that's
your book?
what I talk about. Yeah, read my book. It's available. By the time this goes live, it'll be available on Amazon. So go grab a copy and start believing that it's true for you and that it's not some random unicorn exception that's only attainable by some people who have some magic capabilities, because that's not it. It's available for anybody who wants it.
This is not a fantasy. This is reality. You can do this.
And we have evidence over here.
Yeah. So we do. Check it out. Geraldine Carter. It's Down to 40, right? Is that the title?
Down to 40 hours.
Down to 40 hours. Check it out on Amazon. It should be there. So thanks for coming on. Thanks for this book report. I gave it an A+. You did awesome. You wrote your first book. It's published. Congratulations. That is a big achievement.
Well, thank you. It's been really fun to write, and I'm happy to see it finally be a real thing out in the world. And thanks so much for having me today.
Yeah, dope. Thanks for coming on. Peace out, homies. Want to ride us out? Class dismissed.